Hey Ubers! It's been like forever since I've made a video, but I thought it's about time that I got back into it. Where do I begin? Well, look, I'm not going to go on about what's been happening over the last 12 months, except to say that it's all about readjusting to living in Australia, getting myself settled, getting myself a place to live, a steady job, all of that sort of thing. Now that's been established. I've been working as a social worker for an Aboriginal organisation for almost a year as of next month. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty intense, emotionally challenging job. So it has taken a lot of my energy, a lot of my time. But in saying that, I've decided this year that it's time that I change my focus back to art, back to my passion and what I love. Because I'm always telling you guys to follow your dreams, think less, do more. You know, if you really want something and you're passionate about art, then just go for it. So I'm going to take some of my own advice this year and focus on getting back to art, getting back to making regular videos and just reconnecting with my creativity, because it's what I love, it's what I'm about, and as they say, what you focus on is what you get. So yeah, so that's it. So tonight or today or whatever you want to say, I'm going to be showing you how to coat a finished artwork in resin. Now I've never done it before, but I've been watching some other people do it. I've had a lot of instructions on how to do it, so I thought that I would show you how to do it. So over the last year I've been working on a series of new works. I'll show you just a couple of them now. They're on MDF board and they're quite layered. There's a lot of stencil work, there's a lot of collage, there's a lot of ink, as you can see. That's that one. This one's still a work in progress. As you can see, I'm just building up the layers. This one's actually called the Puppet Master. And this is the Puppet Master here, this character here. And I don't know if you can see it, but faintly there's these strings coming down. This whole series is about strings, because you know how people say that no strings attached? Well, we're all attached to each other by some sort of strings in some ways. We all take things from each other, we all give things from each other, and you know, I believe that we do have strings. And so with this one, as you can see, all the strings coming down off the work, because we're controlled by the strings. So this is another work in progress. It's quite detailed once again, lots of patterns, but yeah, it's coming together. One thing that I like to do if I'm hesitant about what to do next is I simply just, I'll use this one as an example. I simply just scan it and print it out on paper like so. Then I'm free to experiment and try different alternatives to completing the painting. That way you don't actually ruin your finished work. Now I know a lot of people don't work like that, and it's all about spontaneity and, you know, that whole idea of chance and surprise, and sure, I do that as well. But for those of you that like to plan things out and like to try different alternatives, and this is a really good way to go about it. Alright, so let's get down to talking about resin. Okay, so this is the artwork, the finished artwork that I am going to be covering in resin. The resin comes in 2 bottles like this. This is actually called glass coat, and here in Australia we buy it from Bunnings. It's around $52 for the 2 of these, which is pretty expensive, but I'm finding that you can actually get quite a lot out of it. So this is the hardener and this is the resin. They need to be mixed in equal quantities. so 50-50. And you have to mix them really well. I use a measuring cup. Now, how much to mix? Well, the instructions tell me to mix. For 60 centimeters squared, this is actually 30 centimeters squared, this artwork, but for 60 centimeters squared, you need 125 mils of the resin. But because mine is only 30 centimeters, I'm going to need half of that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking this 60 mil, so I'm going to do 60 mils of the hardener and 60 mils of the resin and mix it together, and that'll basically cover a 30 centimeter square area. My first step is to take my board and I'm going to run masking tape around the edge to create sort of like a wall, like a dam to keep the resin inside. So that's going to be my first step. Okay, so Ubers, the next step. So what I've done is I've actually taped up around the edge, and as you can see I've left a ridge so that when I pour the resin in it's going to spread out, but it's not actually going to run around the sides. So I've just used masking tape. Now, to get a really nice even coat across the surface of your artwork, you obviously have to have a flat table to work on. So I've just used a little coffee table, and what I've done is I've taken this level and measured it to make sure that the table is 100% flat on all sides. Because if you have a slight angle, then the resin's obviously going to go towards, the gravity's going to take it to wherever it sits lowest. So it's really important that you get a really flat surface. So I've just put down this as extra precaution just in case it runs through the masking tape. So I am going to be sitting it down on this table like so. Once I've mixed up the resin and poured it in, I'm going to take these 4 candles and place it like so, and then taking another artwork which is slightly larger, I'm going to sit it on top. Now this is going to help keep the dust away, because you'll find that dust, if you get any dust on it, it's just going to ruin it. So this is going to help keep as much dust off the surface as possible. And you want to do this in a room that doesn't have there's not a lot of wind, there's not a lot of movement, and that's fairly free of dust. So the next step is I'm actually going to mix up my resin. So I've thoroughly mixed this now, and I'm just going to pour it over the work. Like so. And then I'm just going to spread it around, make sure it's evenly coated over the entire surface. Okay, so after leaving the resin dry for 24 hours, I've peeled it off and this is the finished artwork. As you can see, it just looks like glass. Pretty amazing, huh? No air bubbles, nothing. I'm really happy with the result. The only thing that I do have to do is I do have to just touch up the edges. I'll take some sandpaper and give it a light sanding, because when the resin sits up against the masking tape, it creates like a little edge. So you just sand that down slightly on an angle to smooth it down. But it's not that a difficult process. The only things that you have to worry about are obviously keeping it in a dust-free environment, that you measure your resin and hardener in equal quantities, and that you thoroughly mix it for about 2 minutes. And they're both clear, so be aware that even though they're clear, you really do have to mix them well. And to just basically be patient and let it dry. But there you go, resin. It's not that difficult. What I love about the surface is it really brings the colours to life. It makes them vibrant. And another thing that you can do now is you can actually continue to build up more layers. So if I wanted to paint over the top of this, I could add another stencil layer and then coat another coat of resin over the top. So you're actually creating layers, similar to what I would do with the plexiglass. But the great thing about this is it's never going to come off. So really happy with that. Anyway guys, that's my first video for this year. Great to be back. Loads more coming up, but I will be in touch soon. Later. Peace to your sexy face.